This call is about the skills day. Is that my computer? Can you guys hear that
No,
noise?
that's my mom shutting the garage. It'll be good. It'll be over in a minute.
Okay. I was like, oh, all right.
I
So
know.
that's all right. This is about the skills day, which for trainer and coach comes before um, the certification day. And actually, for trainer and coach, it's really similar. We can kind of look at it through the trainer coach lens on the day of, but it's more, they have had 6 hours of the Seen It From the Other Side and the quiz online. And so many of them are going to come in thinking, well, I've got it, especially if they've done anything else with TIPA before, been to a training, been to another trainer course, done something. You never know, but they're going to come in thinking they've got the skills because they've seen her do it and they understand them. Where we run into trouble is when they actually go to do the skills. Oh, so cute. So this day is kind of, it's not really an informational day. They've got the information. This is a practical skills day. And it's kind of moved away from that a little bit in the recent months, because it's like we need to get them the information because they don't have it. So we want to kind of go back to that original idea of this is skills and it's practical, and we want them really doing all day for this first day. And so what we'll do is we'll look at the agenda and we'll look at the PowerPoint together. And then you guys will choose one or two sections that you feel confident leading. And then I'll lead the remainder of it. And, I'll be leading the day, but I'd like this to be a chance for you to try out those trainer skills of your own and sort of see where you can go with this so that when you go to lead on your own, now you feel more confident and you're not feeling so pressured. It also gives us a chance after the day to do that evaluation, the self-evaluation, and then sort of getting that peer feedback of, so how do you think it went, and really looking at where you're really strong and where you want to make that one improvement for the following day. Because the cool thing about these certification courses is, even though TIPA is leading the second day, we do these breakout sessions with the trainers or the coaches. And in those days, you're able to basically train your own small group. And we're really trying to stick to that model of AELC and the coaching language. So really getting them to try it, talk about it, practice it again, try it, talk it, practice it again, that just cycle. So anyway, this is our first. I'm going to go ahead and share this PowerPoint.
Can I tell you how freaking excited I am?
I'm so glad.
Especially about the first day.
Yeah, this is going to be right up your alley.
My gosh. I went to one in Milwaukee with Leslie and Beth. Oh my gosh. It was beautiful.
Awesome. So if you did one recently or last year, this will look very familiar. It's changed slightly because we made it longer. It was 4 hours and now it's 6. And the reason for that is because we want more practice and not more information. So even though these are kind of informational topics here, right, we are looking at how can we add in or build in practice to each of these sessions. And not just practice of the skills, but practice using video cameras, our little tablets, and reviewing the videos and talking about the videos. So we're modeling basically that coaching behavior or that coaching language throughout, so that they're not feeling like when it gets to time for someone else to watch their video of the training, they're terrified, if that makes sense. So when we look through, this is basically where you'll want to kind of pick your comfort zone and start thinking about, where do you feel confident and what are some areas that you would like to do some of the training, all of the training, a cycle, a 5-minute cycle, and then ask for help. And we'll also want to make sure that we've got some symbols or signals of, I just want a little bit of clarification here because I'm getting stuck, and that's okay too. So as you kind of look through these, is there anything that stands out to either of you that you feel really, really strong in, or that you really feel like, you know what, those are a couple that I'd feel confident trying out myself? Or what do you think about it first? I mean, does it make sense when you're looking at it? You're on mute, Kathy.
I know. I said I'll do the wrap up. I'm only kidding. Well,
Okay.
Kelly,
Well, I'll do the first 5 hours, and then you
Okay.
can do the last hour.
I love it. Well,
That's exactly what we were looking for, guys. Nice, thanks.
so we're going to have so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly, you just said you did one with Beth recently.
Well, it's been a little while, but yeah, it was in Milwaukee. Oh my God.
So you did the Care Skills Day with them. I've not done the Care Skills Day. I feel, I look at it all and say, hey, I'm comfortable with, just tell me what you want me to do. And, I sink or swim, and I'm okay with that. But is there an area, having done the Care Skills, that you would say, wow, this is what I'm most excited about? Or this is where I'm most confident in? Or...
Well, I personally like lunch break.
Okay, get serious here now. Come
Okay.
on.
That's right, Kathy.
I'm very comfortable.
That wasn't PPA. I know.
No, it's okay. Kelly needed that. It's okay.
Yeah, we're all friends. I love doing the positive approach in 3 zones and special situations. Hand in hand. I'm good with. I'm really good with any of it.
Okay.
Actually.
Wow,
So-
we're problem area.
Let me pause for a second, because there was something that Lynn and I talked about to have the learners have an even bigger aha. So they know about PPA, they know about hand under hand from the video. And one thing that she wanted to try out, and I think sounds really cool, and I think with you guys we could do this, after we talk about the brain and we talk about behavior versus expressive communication, you're seeing this, but what it really means is there's probably an unmet need. How do we assess that? She sort of talked about using these 3, the zones of human awareness, the positive physical approach, and special situations, really mostly these 2, but kind of backing it up and presenting them with some situations and talking through the why, so that they come to PPA on their own. They come to the steps of PPA on their own. So thinking about how we would set up an activity, and because this would be kind of new, this would be part that I could take, and then if you wanted to follow with the special situations and emotions. But basically kind of what we were talking about is thinking about how can we present it to them in a way that they start to actually say, well, probably what we should do is pause first. Mm-hmm. Oh, we probably should get their eye contact because we might scare them if we... So is there a way to try out lots of different little pieces as we go about approaching someone that actually gets them to come up with the steps of PPA? And then we pull up the PPA slide and we go, wow, look, guys, you got it. It's not like we're making this stuff up. You're exactly right. That's what PPA is.
So do you think we could, and Kelly, you're great in role playing. So could Kelly and I role play a situation, and then there'd be that, maybe Amanda, you'd be, okay, well, pause there. And what's happening? And we could do it right. We could do it.
I love that. And then maybe for the apply step, have them try the better way that they come up with.
Correct.
I love that. And so then we'll kind of say, okay, so what is the major piece here that we want to make sure we do? And we write down the steps and we'll kind of keep track of them.
Right.
Each little individual piece. I really like that. What do you guys think of that?
I like that.
Okay, cool. And so we can kind of, although they're together, I saw Lynn and Teepa do this, and I saw Lynn do it first my very first courses that I did, where she kind of combines the 3 zones and the positive physical approach as well as the visual verbal touch. You see each other in this space, which is out here, and then you walk in and you move closer until you talk, and now this is your 6 feet basically, and then when I'm touching, that means I'm in your personal space, and I need permission before I do that. So kind of combining these and using little role plays of you guys, and we'll time out. We'll do a full cycle. We'll ask the what, the why, and then coming up with some, so if I'm living with dementia, what should this look like? Or what could this look like? How can we change it to make it better, more comfortable, more of an assessment rather than an assumption? And then we'll come up with that list, and then we'll move to positive physical approach as a whole. And we'll kind of say, yeah, this is it. And you've got your little cheat sheet. Let's practice it now with some special situations and emotions. And so, Kelly, that may be where, because we're going to get those questions of, what if she's sleeping? What if he's really angry and I'm worried he's going to hurt me? What if, and if they don't come up with them, we can sort of prompt with some more questions of, where might this not work exactly the same as it does here? What if she's facing out the window and I can't get her attention? People will start to think of them if we start coming up with some questions that kind of push them to think a little bit more about some special situations. Okay, cool. So how does that feel to you guys? If we have Kelly, do you feel confident with that kind of putting into practice?
Oh, yeah.
What we've just come up with? I like
That's a beautiful idea, Kathy.
And I just know from having experience role playing with Kelly, she does a great job. So I think that I love it. Yeah.
You're just trying to make up for yelling at me. It's working though. It's working.
No, but I think that's and it's an opportunity also for them in that role play to say, well, we talked about the vision changes and, what was happening with the brain. So they're processing the whole thing. So, yeah, I think that'd be fun.
Cool. I think that's great. And, we can do one role play where you really get in there and you skip all the steps and you're moving too fast and then they can kind of break it down and we can have them break it down into a step-by-step, basically, what would be the first step? Let's go back. And so you guys may end up doing that same role play a few times.
Right.
And then at the end, we'll kind of put all those steps together that they came up with and do a full PPA the right way. But throughout, they're practicing each little step in their apply step.
Right.
So that sounds really cool. I think they're going to love that. And then what we'll want to do is make sure that in Kelly's section, and possibly in the apply section, that we're having them video and just practice with videoing so they can watch it and rewatch it and say, that didn't really work like we thought. Let's look at the video and see where it went wrong, or, and in that time we can kind of go around and have them practice their idea on us and overreact or react in a way that would potentially happen, even though they're not going to do it to each other,
Amanda, I saw that I think there's 20 that are registered the last time I looked.
25 now.
Wow. Okay. So it's 25. Is there anyone else from the outside that's not doing the 2 days? That's only doing the 1 day?
Only one person is doing the first day only.
Okay.
And we will also have Catherine Quinlan, she's a trainer. She's a certified trainer. She's in New York. She works with a woman who used to be the lead or the head of the Alzheimer's Association in New York, and they've basically shunned her. And she's, New York wealthy. And I think it's her husband is John Adler, and he works, I think it's him, that he works very closely with the Salk Institute, and so they're doing a lot of research, and they just had Teepa out in California recently, and Catherine came out, and she met with a whole bunch of big wigs out there, and talking about, okay, yeah, you guys are researching, but what are we doing in between? And so that was kind of cool that she got them thinking, and the future head of NIA, the National Institute on Aging, was there as well. And so that's kind of there was just a lot of cool contacts and outreach. It was pretty high up there and pretty exciting. But Catherine is looking to move away from her individual care partnering role. And like I said, she's already a certified trainer, but she's looking to potentially join us as a mentor and or speaker.
Super.
So she's attending the course basically at cost. She's not paying to do the course as full, and she doesn't need mentoring, but she's kind of learning and watching what we're doing and potentially taking learners in a future course in April or May.
Awesome.
So we're going to kind of be working with her to kind of talk about the mentor as a skill. That kind of combines coach, trainer, and consultant. Because when you're a mentor, you don't really get to choose one. You kind of have to have all three skill sets. So she's going to be joining us, but she's not really a part of the class, if that makes sense. She's going to be kind of watching and participating, and she may look to help us a little bit, but she's kind of going to be a fly on the wall.
That's great.
So that's the only other kind of weird part of this course.
That's a good group, though. I'm glad.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. So, so that being said, you guys are going to end up taking about 12 to 13 learners each. If that is way too many, and we can decide on the day if there's someone who's really looks like they're going to be a struggle, and that's too many, then you can let me know and we'll figure it out. But that's kind of the hope for now. So. Okay. Just keeping that in the back of your mind while you get all excited, Kelly.
I'm already excited. I had a call with Beth yesterday, so.
Perfect.
I want to get back into this. I'm really excited.
Yeah, cool. So it sounds like we have a good idea of where Kelly, you're going to maybe do this section, take on sort of knowing that we're going to have just done a lot of practice, a lot of role play, and them coming up with the steps of PPA. We'll do kind of a wrap up of, so here are the steps of PPA. And then you'll take on this section of, okay, so what about if it's not exactly this situation where someone is sitting in a chair and you're approaching them? Or what if there's a special circumstance, or they're walking towards you, or, so then we can start coming up with some situations for them, or they can start coming up with some situations that they'd like to try out PPA in different ways. And so that's kind of where this one goes. Kathy, anything that kind of stands out to you then?
No, I'd love to do the gyms. I mean, I know that's a short time.
It is. And what I always feel, we want to add more practical pieces into all of these sections. It shouldn't be dump, 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 and then exercise. So I love the idea of you doing the gyms. If you think that it could go somewhere different, or if you can add in pieces of the gyms
that would be a great idea. Yes, okay.
So I would say, I love the idea of you doing that sort of gyms introduction at the end, but potentially thinking about, do we want to switch it around? And people are going to be fine with that. That's not a big deal. It's just where it is in the presentation. But if we want to introduce it up here when we talk about brain failure, if you want to talk about Chipa's gym somewhere else, I'm very open to it. There are a lot of places, even when we look at this, talking about where the gym states might fall, or what that might look like compared to all these old scales that we've had. So, don't feel tied down to that one section.
Well, and if it would be okay then to do that kind of introduction, and then when Kelly and I are role playing, that might be a time where it would be like, okay, Emerald, we could work that part. I like that.
Yeah, and remember, they'll have their cards.
Right.
So we could actually have them on the very first day pull out their GEMS cards at the very beginning. And if you wanted to do a little introduction to when we role play, to make it more realistic or to make it a little bit stronger for you, might be a cool idea to pick a gem card to be each time. And that way they're kind of infusing it within everything we're doing rather than separating it out.
Well, and also they could help identify what gym do you think Kelly is, and then why do you
I
think
love that. Yeah, I love that.
I like that too.
Mm-hmm.
So once we've got them practicing with the gyms, so maybe you'd do an intro to the cards pretty early on.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll do, though you can kind of time us out because that's something that I know I will forget to do. But every time we do a role play or they do a practical, you can say, okay, everyone, time out real quick. Remember, pick a gym card or guess the gym of the person that you're working with. You know, that's a really great practical skill. I love that. Okay. So it's
Amanda, do you want to do the introduction and the PAC principles as the lead?
yeah, you know, anything that you guys aren't taking, I'm happy to take. But, you know, at the same time, in the moment, if you are thinking, oh, there's something I'd really want to, like this, I came up with this really cool activity on the spur of it, time me out and say, hey, I was just wondering, do we have 5 minutes to try something else? Or you can whisper it to me if you don't want to stop everybody. But that feels like a really good section, and I'll be using you guys, obviously, throughout the rest of it. I would recommend, you guys have access to this. It's in the mentor folder, but I'll go ahead and send it to you again, just so you have an emailed copy. I would look through it and figure out where your slides are or where you'd like to add slides.
I tell you what, you know, the one you have up right now, I love that one.
So
I'm just throwing it out there.
oh yeah, that's absolutely fine. So if that's a piece that you'd want to do, you know, what we'd do is I'd start us off, and then if that was a piece that you felt really confident and you wanted to try out and you wanted to do it as an AELC, I would just kind of write out what is your little mini script, and then share it with me. And that's kind of what I'll ask you to do for the sections that you're taking otherwise as well, just so that I kind of have an idea of where you're planning on taking it, so that I'm not jumping ahead or doing too much or not feeding you correctly, you know, once it gets into that loop. So for the sections that you guys are planning on taking, I don't need like a full script, but just a very basic sort of what's the experience that you're hoping to do, and then what are possible questions that you're going to ask to get them here, and then what would the apply step be. So that's fine. If you're looking through it and you come across another piece that you just love to do, I'm very open to that, because this is your chance to kind of practice some things and get some feedback. Just be clear about what it is you're doing, and then I can fill it in without, you know, too much stress. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I'll put 2 to tango, and then you've got the special situations PPA. So if you want to kind of start looking at those different slides that fit, and really trying to figure out, okay, so your slides will come after we've kind of done all of these steps in basic. And then we have this slide here, but we don't have to show it right away. We don't have to start here. We can have them come up with their own first. And then, you know, that would be a great place for Kathy to say, and don't forget to choose a gym card that you're going to try out. Because the person should be able to kind of assess what gym you are. And they may not be good at that yet, and that's okay. And you may tell them ahead of time. I mean, we'll kind of see what the skill level of the group is to kind of see, do they want to try guessing, or is that one too many skills for them to try today? Do we want to just say, okay, so pick a card, everyone, let's choose the amber, and let's all do amber for now. And that's okay too. You know, that'll be kind of an on-the-spot assessment of how are they getting it, how are they doing with all this stuff, because it's a lot. It's a lot of information that they thought they had when they come in. So I guess the last piece it kind of sounds like is for us, Kathy, it sounds like you're going to kind of infuse throughout. So if you want to kind of find places that you think a really cool role play would be, knowing that we're going to do the basic role plays here, you know, we're going to do visuals. We'll talk about the changes in vision. We may have them walk around the room a little bit with binoculars or monocular to kind of feel what that feels like. We may sort of jostle them a little bit or bump from behind and they're not expecting it when they've got their binocular vision on. So I like to expand each of these into sort of an activity rather than just delivering the content. So, you know, look it over again now that you kind of have in your mind where we're going with it. And if you decide that you'd like to make a change, you'll want to make sure you send it back to me. Otherwise, I won't have your most up-to-date version. And let me know if you have questions about where it goes or where what goes, which slide matches which section. We'll kind of try to move through them along the lines of this agenda. But
so let me ask Amanda, when you've done the care skills and Kelly, when you've been in it, you're really using here's part of what I do sometimes as a trainer. They have a copy of the PowerPoint and I'm not using the PowerPoint all that much. Or
yeah, you know, that's one of the, I don't want to say complaints, but it's one of those things that for some learners, that's really off-putting.
Right.
And since this is kind of formulaic,
okay,
we do try to use the slides to go with it.
Okay, so I guess where I was going with that is I would not probably be looking at changing too much in this slide because I'm assuming when this was put together, it was put together with the agenda. So I'm not really going to be looking to make changes to the slide order or the slides, but following the sequence with lots of interjections in between.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. So
Okay.
what I'd love for you to do at this point, before the date of the training, would be for you guys to say, you know, at slide 5 or 4 for you, Kelly, before you move to slide 4, I want to try this AELC. I want to try this little mini cycle, and I want to try slide 4 with that. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have them do this, and then I want to ask them this. And these don't need to be big. They should be maybe 3 to 5 minutes. I mean, they're really kind of small in the earlier stages because you can see our time is going to wear thin no matter what.
Sure.
But this is a really cool place to kind of try something out. You know, I know with this part, depending on what you choose, Kelly, you know, I have an idea that I saw Peg do that I really liked, where she was talking about her caring hand and putting that in someone's face. And then that could go, yeah, so that can go in between here, and I don't mind who does it. I just want to make sure it gets in there. So that'll give me an idea of what are you planning to cover and what do I still want to make sure gets in there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you want to send those to me just before the day of, and then we'll talk about it the night before to make sure we all get in fairly early that day.
Mhm.
Just because of flight schedules was a nightmare. But we'll figure out how to make sure that we're all ready to go and all on the same page. And we can revisit whether there are specific role plays you want to do or whether you're comfortable just kind of going with the flow and picking a role play on the spot. So, I mean, I'm fine with either. It just matters. It's just up to you what you're comfortable with. And I think both of you are pretty flexible, but I don't want to make you feel stressed out in the moment.
Hey, Kathy.
I'll tell you. Yes,
I was kind of like you. I used a PowerPoint, but I wasn't good at making sure I switched the PowerPoint pages. And Beth really had me practicing this. So I got your back on this, okay?
Yeah.
I
No,
got your back.
what I'm used to doing right now as the alternate speaker is we're doing like 2 hours, so they have the PowerPoint for their CE. And so the visual people, they have something they can take with them to use as reference later on. I'm just finding that kind of works because there's so much more interaction that I want to have with the group, so that they leave with something to use. But anyway.
Yeah, no, you absolutely are right. And we were getting really far, and Tipa will probably not use a lot of the ones on the second day. She'll use them all, but not exactly in order, or, and for some people that really stresses them out. So, this is our chance to kind of.
Well, those people got to get along.
I know. You're telling me, sister.
No.
But this will be, it's not hard to.
No, you're right.
Because it does follow so closely and it has been really thoughtfully, there's not so many slides. I mean, there's only 68 slides, which for 6 hours is totally doable.
Right. Absolutely.
And a lot of the slides are the steps of PPA really broken out. So
yeah, and the brain slides are really important because as we're talking about, they're seeing the people with that large skull. And
they are.
So I think it's, even though they've seen it seeing it from the other side, it's going to be different.
It's so different, and that they don't realize it. And that's part of, because it's a trainer course, we like to revisit this day on the second day.
Right.
So because they won't really get it. They won't really get, why are they making us do all this stuff? Why are we having to video? Why are we having to do this? Until they do the day with Tipa, where they realize, holy crap, I'm not even close to where I thought I was, because a lot of them are the talk, and teach. And that's pretty standard. I mean, that's how people are trained to train. And if you know the content, then you deliver the content, and you're really smart, and that's how you do it. So this is like total shift for them. So we really want to make sure we're modeling ALC over and over and over again. And, on the second day, one thing that when we were in England, Lynn paused Tipa's training and said, did everyone catch that AELC? And it was such a cool little moment, because it really was just a little mini 5-minute AELC. And it was boom, boom, boom. We could pull out the different pieces. There was the experience. There was the share. But we have to do this day really with a lot of AELC so that they kind of get it ingrained that this is what it looks like. And it doesn't have to be Tipa. You can do it too, but this is what it looks like in a kind of a different format. And this is how it's so different from all of your other trainings.
Okay, I'm just talking off the top of my head right now. So when they've gone through the 6 hours, the tapes or the DVD, the AELC has not been introduced to them.
No.
So when they come to today, we're not spending any time talking about the AELC.
No.
All we're doing, okay.
So it's all the second day.
It's all experiential.
And then that's where they base it, because
I know, yeah.
Yeah, because AELC is going to be so foreign to them. That if we just introduce the second day, and eventually what Tipa would love to do is have this day separate from the course, because it's not really, it doesn't really need to be connected. And it's not really connected. And so we're moving towards that model, but because this is how it's been set up, and because people, it's hard for them to get 2 different days off in an area that we can offer the course and the training day, we're kind of in this model of 2 days together. So we're looking at possibly doing the online course as an alternative to the skills day right before. But they would have already had to do an in-person skills day at some point before they do a training or a coach or a consultant class. And then having that be a 2-day section just focused on the skill of trainer, coach, or consultant or engagement.
So we can help them, and again, I'm just talking, so we can help them prep for that second day, because I remember going to the trainer before there was the other day, and the AELC, we didn't have that when I was in college, so it was all new. So interesting. So,
Yeah, and it's not covered really anywhere anyway, even
right.
still.
So what we basically can start doing is introducing the words in the role play.
That's right.
Well, we've just done something, and wow, now you're sharing, and so we're going to be using those words so we'll subliminally.
That's exactly right. That's
Okay.
exactly right. And we may even say, this training is, and that may be part of my introduction, is to say, this training is really different from a lot of the trainings you've done. And even though you watch the videos, it's going to be different still from that. And the biggest difference is going to be that we're here in person trying it. So we use something called the Adult Experiential Learning Cycle.
Right.
And I may just list the very basic cycle on a board or on a piece of paper that we put up on the wall. And then that's something that we can revisit, as you said, sort of subliminally throughout the day, but we're not spending any time really talking about it, just making sure we're going through it every time. I like that idea of kind of introducing it and having the words visible to them ahead of time.
Let's figure this one out.
Yeah. And they will get, Dan thankfully created these cute little, that we had before, we kind of got rid of, but they match the cards that they'll get for the second day. So we may ask them to kind of revisit this the second day, because that'll match exactly the words that we put on the board. So that'll be a cool way to kind of check back in and say, see, we were teaching you and you didn't even know it. We're so sneaky. Okay, cool.
I just want to prep them for TIPA.
You got it. Yeah, and the more prep, and that's exactly what we're doing. The more prep we can do, the better. And the video for her is like so frustrating, because especially for coaches, but trainers too, they don't know how to use them if we don't practice with them the day before. And it becomes really stressful. And well, I could have done it, but I was on video. And so we want to just get them so that every time we do a role play, every time they're practicing something, they're videoing. So we'll have them work in 3s almost all the time instead of 2s. And that way the person videoing can then be sort of the sounding board and say, well, it looks like you were being an emerald, or, it looked like this worked. Let's watch it and see what happened, because this seemed to work, but this part didn't. So just getting them to have those conversations with videos that they shoot during the class.
So what tools?
So I have, that's a good question. So I currently have 3 tablets. And I mean, luckily I have them, but we're trying to figure out how to best share them and use them, or do we need more tablets for leads to have?
Well, I got 2 tablets.
You have 2. So it never hurts to bring them, because basically all we're going to do is watch the videos in class and then delete them off the tablet. But just having them practice with something that,
I have my iPad.
Yeah, and letting them see that it doesn't have to be this fancy newfangled technology, so that technology doesn't become the barrier on the second day or for their certification, because for a lot of people, that's the hardest part of their certification is the technology.
Right.
So we want to get them really comfortable with being on camera and using it and reviewing it as a tool rather than as a judgment. Because that's, it's where a lot of old videos were used, right? Was for a judgment tool to say, well, you're not doing it right. So, or to catch them. And that's not what we're using it for. We use it to really improve each time and say, I did this, but I didn't do this. I'd like to do this more. I spent only 30 seconds here. And then for those little detail people, they're going to be able to get it and get the nitty gritty done. And the big picture will just say, yeah, it was okay. I feel like it could have been better. So it kind of helps us to see what kind of learners they are too. All right, cool. Well, I feel pretty good about this day. How are you guys feeling about your next steps? Do you feel like you understand next steps and where we want to go with it?
So next step is to get to you. Potential role plays or potential insert areas so that you see where the flow will go.
Yep.
And Kelly, let's surprise her with a couple,
Oh, we'll do it.
I mean,
Please do. Please do. So the only piece on top of that is for the main sections that you did, kind of really writing out an AELC or two. It doesn't need to be in full script form, but so that I know that you're ready to go with it. What's going to be your experience? What kinds of questions will you ask to get them through the rest of the cycle? Kind of just labeling each section so that when we talk about it afterwards, because it's all going to feel like a blur. I mean, 6 hours goes really fast. But when we talk about it afterwards, we can say, so did you stick to this? How did it go? What was it like? You know, we can really talk about it instead of it being trying to remember. Bless you.
Thank you.
Gesundheit.
So Kelly, I've got you doing an AELC for the 2 to Tango and the special situations. If you want to just let me know what PowerPoint slides you are thinking will go with those best.
Okay.
And then Kathy, I have you doing the gyms at the end.
But inserting it earlier, and I'll let you know.
Yeah, and you don't have to let me know, but if there are times where you really want to do a role play or you really want to introduce something about the gyms, then that would be good to let me know so that I don't skip over it and you miss an opportunity that you were kind of hoping to have. And you can always in the day just be like, I wanted to do this gyms here. I think this is a great spot for it. But, you know, the more I know,
Sure.
hopefully I will be able to pause myself. You know, sometimes I get on a roll and keep on rolling. So you know how that goes. Okay, so I feel really good. I think this is going to be a really solid group, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun with them. We do have 25, and then with us it's 28 plus one more is 29, I think, for this first day. So numbers might be a little weird if we do sets of 3. So 25 is kind of a weird number to have. We'll have sets of 3 and then maybe one group of 4. I'd rather have too many than not enough for them to practice with video. So we can have sort of a videographer and then a coach in the group of 4. So just thinking about that as we start thinking about pairing people up and kind of shaking them out of their comfort zone a little bit. Okay, cool. Well, if you guys think of anything else, or if, as you look through the PowerPoint more in depth, if there's something that you think of or a really cool activity that you want to try that we didn't mention today, you know, like Kelly saw that slide and thought, oh, there's a really cool activity. I really love doing that one. Let me know. We may run out of time and we may have to kind of regroup at lunch and say, this song that's here, we will sing, but I do have it on the internet, so we can pull up the singing of everyone. My voice is not great. I don't know about your voices.
Oh, but it's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, and I don't mind singing. I just know I don't have a great singing voice. So I'll pull it up on the internet and we can sing along with that one, just so that nobody's, you know, having to listen to my kids were always like, again, in class. So, you know, I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not embarrassed, but I know that it's not great for everybody.
Maybe that's why Leslie says that to me all the time. Really? Really?
Again?
So Amanda, you mean you are human?
That's right. I have only so many skills.
You're human. I don't know. I didn't think you were human. Super.
Oh, yeah, right. No, I have karaoke where Dan patiently puts up with it and claps, but it's not very good. And I know that, and I'm okay with that. As long as nobody videos it, I'm good. But speaking of video, actually, that was one thing I did want to say. What we'll do is I'll video your sections as well. Those two main your main section that you send me your AELC for. So Kelly, the 2 to Tango and the special situations PPA, and then Kathy, the final gym section. And that way we'll have video for you to review at a later date as well, so that you're not, so, you know, because we're going to be doing a lot of work and you're going to forget some of the things and you'll want to see it again and see how did you do when it came to real training session. Because it's always so different than when you're trying it with a small group or when you're doing a speaking engagement. It's just a really different group and a different feel. So we'll video those, and I'll ask you to video some of my sections so that we can all talk about them and review them later. or I can send them to Lynn, and Lynn and I can talk about them as where we want to go with it. How do we want to change things? Do we still like how this looks as a skills day? All that jazz.
So you're talking day of, right? We're going to videotape.
That's
Okay.
right. That's
Okay,
right.
good.
So I'll bring the video camera and the tripod, so you guys don't need to worry about that section. But I just wanted you to know that that will be happening, and you may have to help me remember to press the record button. So that's something that sometimes that escapes me. So we'll try to just be a team on that and make sure we're recording different sections, you know, at least getting 5 to 10 minutes here and there of each person, so that we can really go back and look at it and say, wow, yeah, this went really well.
Sounds
I
great.
know it's going to. All right, cool. Well, if you guys think of anything else, or like I said, I'll shoot you this in an email real quick, even though I know you have access to it in a million different places, but it never hurts. If you want to look at in your manual that I sent you in the trainer section, I think the second section is the skills day printout that they will get.
Mm-hmm.
So you can kind of check it out and see how it's different, what things are included, what things aren't. I'm pretty sure the whole PowerPoint is in there. Because it was so small, but they do have a couple extra things that we can refer to if we decide to. But as Kathy said, they're going to be overwhelmed enough. They'll have enough visual that, you know, the handouts and the PowerPoint is enough for them. So, all right, cool. Well, thanks, guys. Let me know if anything comes up, and I look forward to checking out your AELCs, see what you're planning on doing.
And we will be able to go over to the location that afternoon.
She said she would take us over there once she picked us up. She said it would be no problem.
Good.
So we can grab the box that I will mail out tomorrow of all the supplies, so we can look and make sure we know what they get. As for trainers, they get some of the cards. The only card that they don't really get are the coaching cycle. But I think they get all the other card sets. So when you look at your manipulative set, they don't get the coaching cheat sheet, but I may bring I like to send a few extra just in case we decide that we want to try that language, but they probably won't be using that. But they will get the AELC cheat sheet. It's just like the one.
So you don't need us to bring anything other peripheral kind of stuff other than maybe our iPads.
Yeah, I would just bring your set of cards,
Right.
your trainer manual,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and then whatever else you like to have with you.
Okay.
And whatever you need for your section that you're going to train.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need any other. I'll send cups and spoons. We will practice in the afternoon with hand under hand and applesauce and or water in cups. So don't worry too much about that. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else that you need to bring that's not already included.
And so they're providing, so we're not going to have to go shop for wood or anything like that. They're providing all of that.
I believe so. That's what it has been. We may have to grab applesauce, because I don't know that they provide that, but I'll check.
Okay.
What's the name of the hotel, guys?
It's called the Allegria.
You can go online and look at it, Kelly.
I will. Now I know where it is in Long Island, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's
Long Beach, I think, is the actual town in Long Island.
Long Beach. Okay. Yeah, I would like to look at it.
Great. All right, and everyone's sorted with getting there for, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.